Hello, this is Walter Smith on BlueMoonRisingTV, back for another week of Walter's Glass Half Full. Now, there's loads of comments to get stuck into this week, so without further ado, let's have a look. One of the main talking points this week, certainly amongst us Blues, has been the amount of abuse that, well, Raheem's been getting off the England fans, with headlines like this. You know, it's a dark day in Blue Paradise when the lone voice seems to be Steve McManaman sticking up for Raheem Sterling, saying lay off him. Some of the so-called journalists in this country have actually used this opportunity to stick in a two-footed tackle on Raheem from behind. No other player from any of the other side seems to come in for this amount of stick as our Raheem. According to some of the Red Tops, I'm sure that Raheem Sterling would actually be blamed for the rise of Donald Trump, #blame Raheem, for the girlfriends actually walking out the door and leaving them penniless, #blame Raheem, or for even just missing the bus, #blame Raheem. You get the idea. Has Raheem got off to a flyer in this tournament? Well, I'd say no, but has he been any worse than the media darlings of Harry Kane, Dele Alli, or even Lallana? I'll let you tell me in the comments below. The media microscope seems to be focused in on our boy Sterling at the moment, and every mistake he seems to make is being replayed, highlighted, and shown to the general public. I'm hoping that when he actually pulls on a blue Manchester City shirt again, that us Blues get behind him and sing his name from the rafters. If ever a player needed an arm around him, it's our Raheem now. Sterling has actually still got 4 years on his contract to run, and Manchester City didn't buy the finished article. They bought a guy with talent who's only 21. If we cast our minds back just a few months, Raheem Sterling was actually in the team of the year in the group stages of the Champions League. The guy got off to an absolute sensational start. Indeed, he was the only representative for Manchester City in that team and the only Englishman. And we're also talking about a former European golden boy. But he cost 49 million, I hear the trolls screaming caps lock. Well, no he didn't, he cost 44 million for a start. And if we actually pay 49 million for him, we've won the Champions League and the Premiership. Of that 44 million, 9 million went to QPR. And if you take away the usual agent fees, etc, Liverpool blew that on. Benteke. I know who got the better deal there. Liverpool fans and pundits need to understand that Raheem Sterling actually left Liverpool to, well, win stuff and play in the Champions League. Well, what's he done? Well, he's won stuff and he's played in the Champions League. Unlike Liverpool, since he left. I can't wait for Pep Guardiola to actually get hold of Raheem Sterling, put an arm round him and turn him, what I believe, into a hell of a player. My plea to Manchester City fans is, well, let's get behind our boy and put an arm round him, just as Pep will, and we'll get the best out of him, well, for years to come. Troll of the week this week. Naz, it was written. Watch Pep get exposed next season. The fraud. Now, I know I've covered this subject before, but I'm just in the middle of Pep Confidential. And Blues, if there's one manager I could pluck out of the air to actually bring to Manchester City, we've got our man Pep. Blues, two things. If you haven't actually got hold of Pep Confidential already, beg, borrow, steal it. It's an absolute must for any Blue. And secondly, we've got our man Pep, and he's even better than what I actually thought he was in the first place. I've actually heard the word genius bandied around about many managers, but reading that book, they're not actually fit to lace Pep's boots. For me, he actually reads and sees the game differently from any other manager I've ever read about. He's almost like Neo from The Matrix, Dustin Hoffman from Rain Man, and maybe that guy from, well, Limitless. Pep Guardiola has actually managed to win 3 titles on the trot for Bayern Munich. Now, if he could bring that kind of form to Manchester City, I know I'd be happy. As I've said before, winning the league is the benchmark of any great manager. And he's done it. This is a manager that actually gets the best out of his players, and his teams are always set up to win. After reading the book, I realised that Pep actually reads the game almost like a game of chess, and there should be no surprises in the opposition because he studies them at great length. Unlike Manuel Pellegrini, who sometimes you'd think hadn't actually heard of some of the teams that we were playing. The glowing tributes by the coaching staff and players at Bayern Munich actually tell you how highly they regarded their man Pep. Fair enough, only time will tell if Pep Guardiola is going to actually be successful at City. But if I was told a year ago I had a choice of any manager in the world, he'd be my number one. Manchester City have seemed to be building to this day since 2008, and it's only a few days away, folks. Time to get giddy. Pep's already managed to get Gundogan in, and it's for the equivalent of a packet of crisps and some port scratchings. So Blues, my advice would be, buckle up and enjoy the ride. We've got Captain Guardiola at the controls, and he means business. Christy Pie. Why would Cruz join Manchester City? Lol. My question to you is, why wouldn't he join Manchester City? The latest word doing the jungle transfer rhythm is Pogba is actually in talks with Real Madrid. If Ozil was quite happy to join Arsenal, a team that just completely lacks any form of ambition. And Di Maria, well, he joined a team that wasn't even in the Champions League. Going by history, there's actually every chance that Cruz, well, he could rock up at City in the summer. If Cruz actually joins Manchester City, well, he's working with what I believe is, well, the best manager in the world. Guardiola, he actually knows Cruz, having worked with him before, and knows what strengths and weaknesses he'll bring to Manchester City. Pep actually likes to work with a small squad, normally about 20 players, so any player he actually brings in will always know he's part of a greater plan. Manchester City will be able to offer him Champions League football, fingers crossed, and I'm sure he won't be paid in, well, shekels. Cruz will be able to actually train at the best facilities in the world with a coach that loves and trusts him, not only as a player, but as a man. Cruz will actually be playing in a team that, well, he faced in the semi-final of the Champions League, but only with Pep as the manager. Cruz, well, he's German, he's not Spanish, so there's no natural affiliation to actually stay in Spain. So despite playing with Kevin De Bruyne, Aguero and other world-class players, what could possibly attract Toni Kroos to Manchester City? Best coach in the world, state-of-the-art facilities, working with a footballing man you actually trust, semi-final of the Champions League, playing in a league that's the most watched throughout the planet. City, they're actually growing year upon year. A club that is actually professionally run, well, from top to bottom. A club that will actually each year add more quality to the squad. A club that will put its money where its mouth is. All this, Chris, while Toni Kroos is getting paid a king's ransom. Yeah, you're right. Why would he ever join Manchester City? Well, that about sums up another week of Walter's Glass Half Full. So if you've got any negativity you need injecting into your blue world, what are you waiting for? Get tapping below. Oh, time for another.